Yes everyone, welcome back. In today's News Daily video, I'm going to focus on 3 stories today. We're going to discuss the big news surrounding Lewandowski, as well as bigger news over the latest surrounding our current takeover talks. Of course, more plot twists, keep twisting, keep plotting, but I'm going to break down the story for you guys. And we're going to end things, of course, by talking about Andreas Christensen after we learned that this guy excluded himself from playing in a cup final. So as you can tell, a ton of things to talk about. Hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to smash that like button and get involved in the comments too, without wasting no more time. So right now, let's discuss the latest developments surrounding the current takeover talks, because today it was confirmed that this 4.25 billion takeover is now being thrown into new doubts as ministers at Whitehall are concerned about the assurances provided by Roman Abramovich over the amount of money behind the deal. Basically, the news is the government have accused Mr. Abramovich of putting the club at risk of going under, as he is allegedly refusing to accept new sales structure terms. Essentially, the reported holdup is over the 1.6 billion loan which parent company Fortune Limited does own to Roman Abramovich's offshore account called Camberley International, and essentially this is the fear and concern the UK government have. They claim relations are strained behind the scenes between Roman and the government. With time currently running out, the government claim we are refusing to accept their new plan to put the loan in an escrow account. Now, with an escrow account, essentially it means that it's a legal arrangement in which a third party temporarily holds the money. Basically, the government needs to be convinced the money, of course, is going to be moved in safely and paid into a foundation for Ukrainian war victims, which Roman, of course, is setting up. The government don't want to see any proceeds going into Roman's offshore account, and ministers are accusing Roman of saying one thing publicly and doing another thing completely differently behind the scenes. The reality is, there are pressing deadlines to be met throughout this month. Of course, we were given a special license, which currently does expire on the 31st of May. So we only have 2 weeks left, man. So we have to get moving, and hopefully some agreements and arrangements can be found. Now, these reports are disclosing one side from the ministers and the UK government. Does that mean that I'm going to simply just believe what they're saying and start sympathizing? Absolutely not. Not for this Tory government. They're all liars, so I don't trust them. With this report, I don't think it was made to incite any fear. I think we have to be a bit realistic. Of course, with a deadline approaching in 2 weeks' time, it's only natural that we get an update on proceedings to know exactly what's happening at this point in time. Of course, naturally, worst came to worst. If no agreement was found, if any madness had happened in the end, then technically, of course, we could face ramifications from that. I guess it's natural the media would kind of lead with the administration tagline, of course. So of course, rank in the algorithm, get more clicks, etc, etc. But when you look past that cynicism really quickly, you guys, I just think that it's just a very brief, minor update and report. And actually, from the time of recording, there's been more updates coming from Roman's side, with him naturally going to have a say and naturally going to come up with his own statements in the end. So for me, we're in the same situation as before. We're just waiting for things to hurry up, and hopefully they find some agreement now over this 1.6 billion loan. So right now we move on to the second story, and let's discuss the latest news surrounding Lewandowski links. So we start with some of the reports coming out, and essentially we could be battling Barcelona to sign Lewandowski. Lewandowski has just recently announced that he is planning on leaving Bayern Munich at the end of the season. His contract does expire next year though. However, he has had long-term interest in playing in Spain, and currently Barcelona have offered him a 3-year deal. Now, this is where Bayern Munich become quite complicated at this point in time. Essentially, with them, they're still planning on keeping Lewandowski. It makes a ton of sense. Who's going to replace him? Who is out there to replace him in the team and get those same goals? There's no one. And essentially, they're trying to at least keep the player for one more season, and they'd be very happy to let him leave on a free. But they're considering some of the transfer fee they could receive from him if he was to be sold this summer. And I guess ideally, if you have a bit of a transfer bidding war, then that's going to boost the value up even more and give you a bigger profit. But with Bayern, they have some doubts over Barcelona. Yes, Barcelona have confirmed that they have the finances ready. However, they've just recently come out from a very bad and terrible financial situation. They're not completely out to clear at this point in time, and of course they don't want to jeopardize receiving any future payments from Barcelona whatsoever, so they're a bit indifferent at this point in time. This current indecisiveness, and it took me like 6 attempts to say indecisiveness properly, is currently opening an opportunity now for other Prem teams now to get involved, with us naturally being one of the Premier League clubs showing the strongest interest, because Lewandowski has been on our radar many a time. Now, even before we signed Lukaku, we saw the reports coming out last summer, you guys, when we were looking at your Haalands, your Lewandowskis, etc. Tuchel would have been very happy to work inside Lever. However, ultimately that deal wasn't going to happen. They got no real strong confidence that Lewandowski wanted to leave, so we turned our attentions to your Haalands and your Lukakus. So that's the news out of the way. I'm going to give my thoughts and opinions, you guys, and the reality is this, we still can't buy or sell any players whatsoever. All we can do now is hold talks, which is what we're doing. I'm hoping that things speed up soon though, because all our rivals around us are currently getting ready for next season, and we don't want to be left with like the discards in the transfer window. That would be absolutely peak. But for me though, would Lewandowski be a smart buy? I mean, absolutely yes. I mean, let's not waste any time, you guys. This is one of the greatest strikers on the planet, one of the greatest strikers of his generation. Yes, he's in his mid-30s, but in football today, man, these guys will be playing till they're 40. The way they look after themselves, the sports science, I mean, they're going to be here for a long time. So I have no fears that Lewandowski will struggle to adapt to the tempo of the Premier League. I actually think that him playing in the system that Tuchel wants, potentially as a guide to maybe like revert a bit deeper, the player that can be the focal point and link up, it could work. Do I think that would necessarily translate into him getting like the 40 goals a season that he gets at Bayern Munich? Absolutely not, because I don't think we create enough opportunities of quality consistently throughout games. Give strikers those types of opportunities anyway, but he was still absolutely bang. But my thing is, I just can't see this being a thing whatsoever, because we still have Lukaku on the books. I think it's a bit dangerous at times when you're already preparing for positions for next season while still currently owning the players playing those positions. When you're going to be that public with some of the interest you're expressing and showing, that could create some tension, that could create some difficulties as well. I mean, we pay the price for that ourselves, especially when we signed Ben Chilwell, and how that essentially stops any moves for Marcus Alonso or Emerson leaving the club at that time. So reality is, Lukaku is on 325 50k a week. If Lewandowski signed, he'd be asking for more than 300k a week as well, and he'd have a big signing on bonus plus agent fees, etc. I mean, there's no way we'd have two strikers on the books whose wages combined together would be like over $250,000 a week. I mean, I just don't see that happening whatsoever, unless Lukaku departs as soon as possible, which I don't see happening with our current sanctions at this point in time. And with clubs now looking to, get players who have like a year left on their deal, free agents, I worry that we could be left behind at this point in time. But I don't know, you guys. Do you think maybe it just makes sense to just keep Lukaku for at least one more season? He's got 15 goals currently. Let's see if he can get some more. And let's hope maybe there could be some better acclimatization with, Lukaku and how he adapts to the system. Because for me, Tuchel in the reports may state that he doesn't want to adapt for no one, but in my opinion, I don't think the system's that incredible, like that 100% fine-tuned and perfect, that we should not adapt things and tweak things to get the best out of players. But that's only my personal thoughts and opinions, you guys. How do you feel about Lewandowski? Do you think this is a deal that has to get done right now, or do you see it not happening at all? Let us know in the comment section. So right now we end things with the final story, and I want to talk about this Andreas Christensen Cup final situation. Now this story was broken last night, and it was confirmed that Christensen, even though he was fit and available for the game, informed Tuchel that he would not participate and he wouldn't be able to play. Now this really surprised Tuchel, this really surprised the whole squad, because this was announced literally in the morning of the cup final, and that's why yet again Trevor Chalobah ended up being the saviour, as he has been throughout the season, as he was caught up as the backup over the first team guys. Regardless though, sources close to Andreas Christensen since those reports came out did actually say that he had been feeling unwell throughout the entire week, and was actually really surprised that Tuchel even called him up to play in the cup final, saying that Christensen would never miss the cup final at all for any reason. Now, of course, there was no real strong indication behind what the real reason was behind why Christensen didn't play. I guess we can only go off what the reports are suggesting. This follows on from Tuchel confirming that Christensen, of course, is leaving the club. He will be going to Barcelona. So is this the end of Andreas Christensen? Will we see him before the season ends? I guess time will tell, but I'm going to get my thoughts and opinions on this. Is this incident supporting evidence that Christensen is very weak mentally? We all remembered the quotes that came up from Sarri when he was a manager at the time, saying that Christensen was always getting like nervous shits before games, etc, etc. Maybe Sarri didn't really see him as his ideal defender. He liked more aggression, a lot more strength, and if you're seeing your defender taking shits for the game, it's a bit of a stinky situation, I guess. So is this confirmation that this is the reason, and it's like Christensen's eternal mental weaknesses coming back to bite him and bite us in the end? I'm not too sure. I'm really not too sure. I'm gonna just give my opinions on this, you guys. For me, I don't like to personally be someone that forms strong opinions on contextless information, or on information that doesn't have enough valid claims. I can't imagine Christensen, who's played in a Champions League final, who's played in tons of big games, all of a sudden would decide that he doesn't want to play with his boys, with his team that he's been with for 11 years in the cup final, to potentially end his legacy at the football club. Say whatever you want, if you don't like the player, whatever. You might not agree, but just from understanding footballers, that makes no sense to me, and I can't believe that would be the reason. Who knows what it is? I'm not going to really speculate on this, you guys, because I don't know. It could be literally anything. But if it was mental reasons, then I think maybe there could be an interesting, serious discussion on this. I say this because, I actually heard from one of my sources today that there's another player in the squad who's also had some mental battles as well, who's affected by the pressure of playing in front of the crowds. It might sound crazy too, this is what footballers do for a living, but this player in particular has had pressure from that, and sometimes he is really heavily affected by that. Now, I don't want to say his name, even though I know who it is. Now, the only reason why I'm even bringing this up is maybe to support the potential fact that, players are affected a lot by mental health concerns. I guess, the pressure. So potentially, could that be one of the reasons? I'm not too sure. And that's just my thoughts and opinions behind things. A bit of a shame, but I guess for me, the ultimate shame actually is the fact that, so you're telling me Trevor Chalobah wouldn't have started the final if Christensen was okay to play? I think that's a bit mad. I don't think we even lost Christensen, to be honest. I think Trev was good. I just get the impression that Tuchel just sees him solely as a backup player, and it's not been the first time that Trev has been called up last minute when first team players aren't available. I'm not seeing Tuchel giving and distributing minutes evenly, or giving rotational minutes to give him that game time. It seems that most of the times he's getting opportunity is due to first team guys being out. And these are first team guys where Christensen is saying that maybe he's not well. We're seeing guys like Cover being rushed back. So many injured players rushed straight back into the team, just kind of ignoring the bench and squad, which I think throughout the season he hasn't really tended to use as much unless he really has to. And is this the clearest confirmation that maybe Tuchel doesn't like some of the guys in the team from a professional playing point of view, of course, and he wants them out to improve them for next season? Who knows? I guess we'll find out. And you guys on that note, of course, share your thoughts and opinions behind every story. I'm gonna bounce, keep things moving. I've got dinner to make, and on that note, I'm in the FC. This is Blue Lions TV. I'll catch you guys later with some more videos. Cool.